In December 2023, I moved to Kingston after having lived in Montego Bay for 9 years. Of course, my experience of living in Kingston is only 5 months in comparison, but I thought I'd make this video pointing out the main differences because, to be honest guys, it feels like I'm living in a different country right now. I've also realized that if there are Jamaicans who have only lived in Kingston all their lives, they have a very different perception of what Jamaica is like compared to the way Jamaica is viewed by people who live on the North Coast, for instance. In any case, if you've ever thought of choosing between Kingston and Montego Bay, this video is definitely going to give you some insider information. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is the housing. Obviously, people know that prices in Kingston to rent a place are much higher than in Montego Bay. But this is not always the case though. Because of all the Airbnb situation, the prices for housing in Montego Bay are pretty high. So if you want to rent a place like a house or an apartment in Montego Bay, because everyone wants to rent it out on Airbnb, the long-term rent prices have increased. Like for instance, when I came in 2014, you could find a 3 or 4 bedroom house to rent in Montego Bay unfurnished for about $1,000 US. Now there is no way you can get that. So somewhere the same kind of house would cost you at least $2,000. Now in Kingston, of course, the Airbnb market also had an effect, so prices went up. But in general, what I found is that it's the type of property that would be very different. You see, it's like in Montego Bay, you would mostly live somewhere in the hills, whereas the central part is mostly shops and infrastructure and stuff like that. Whereas in Kingston, you have houses like right in the city. Then again, there are so many apartment complexes now being built in Kingston, and a lot of them are like sort of gated communities. When we have gated communities in Montego Bay, they would be sort of outside of the city and they would be really big, like 100 houses or something. Whereas in Kingston, there are a lot of these apartment complexes or townhouses that are like, I don't know, maybe 20 houses per one community sort of thing. You don't have such large open spaces to walk in Montego Bay like you do in Kingston. I visited Kingston many times while living in Jamaica, obviously, but because I've never lived here, I didn't actually have the time to walk around places like Hope Garden. I was really surprised to know that this garden is so big and it's just so beautiful, it has so many like nice and cozy spots, especially if you come here during the weekdays when there are no people, you sort of have the whole garden to yourself. This is really awesome. We don't have places like this in Montego Bay, which is a shame. We should. Anyway, I should make a separate video about Hope Gardens because there is so much history and background story to it, which has to be explored. Oh, just look at this. I don't know why it doesn't get that much advertisement in tourism. Gosh, it's like, look at this, look at it, So gorgeous. You know what always surprises me? When foreigners, backpackers and other travelers and journalists and whoever, bloggers, when they come to Kingston, do they come to Hope Gardens? No, they go to Trenchtown. Is it because they want to see the birth of reggae music? No, they're looking for ghetto areas because they all want to make these videos. Oh, look at me, I'm in dangerous Kingston and I'm so brave, I'm in the ghetto area. You can tell that I get really angry because of these videos because it's just like ridiculous. Anyway, infrastructure. Well, obviously Kingston has an exceptionally good infrastructure when compared to other places in Jamaica. And this is something that I've really been missing while living in Montego Bay in terms of you know, places within a walking distance, let's put it that way. So Montego Bay is a city as well, and it has all sorts of wonderful infrastructure. The problem is that it's all located closer to the sea and the main road, whereas the residential areas are mostly in the hills, so it's not like that simple. You can't just walk to it, right? You have to have a car, or you need to use a route taxi. Whereas in Kingston, well, of course, depending on where you live, but the options here are way bigger. Like now, the place I live in, it's within 5-minute walk from 2 supermarkets, 2 pharmacies, lots of cafes and restaurants, even a few marketplaces where I can get fruits and vegetables, you know. So I don't even need to go to a supermarket for these things, and I don't need to go to Coronation Market if I need something. There are a few options right by the house. We are around Barbican and Jacks Hill Road. So very beautiful part of Kingston. I think it's like Kingston 6. The sun has come out, so I'm gonna walk to the shady part of Hope Gardens. There is like beautiful tunnel with the trees. Now I have to point out, I didn't leave Montego Bay because there was something wrong with Montego Bay, and I'm hoping to go back to Montego Bay in a few years, or somewhere in the north coast, maybe Orchards. All right, so just check this one out. Nice and cool. Yep. There is one thing that I particularly miss about Montego Bay, and it's of course the access to the sea, which is obvious. But here's the thing, Kingston is also by the sea, but it doesn't feel like it at all. Like you would go to the seafront area and it's all business center, you know, or downtown. So it kind of, this feeling of being by the sea and being able just to go for a swim and snorkel and this kind of stuff. Not even the beach, but just, you know, just to go for a swim. I've seen that people are writing that the nearest beach to Kingston is Hellshire Beach, and they would just go there, enjoy themselves, or Lime Key, right? Now, I haven't been to Lime Key yet. I will be going there at some point, but as for Hellshire Beach, I went to Hellshire, and the best thing about it is food. So there are a lot of options to get really good food, especially seafood like fish. My problem is that there is really no beach. I mean, the kind of beach they have is just tiny and it's packed with people if it's at weekends and things like that. However, what I've learned is that Fort Clarence is a beach right next to it, and it's an excellent beach and no one's been talking about it really. I've heard it's just been renovated or something, but it's like huge. It's a really big beach. And it's really nice access to the sea. It's beautiful trees all across, you know, so you have tables, you can have lunch and picnics. I guess the only reason why people are not talking about it because you have to pay for the entrance. I think it's like 1,000 Jamaican dollars. But I mean, it has the bathrooms, it has changing rooms, it has everything. So why not pay to support that beach? I know people are having issues in Jamaica with paying for beach entrances, but you're not really paying for the beach entrance. You're paying for the facilities that are on that beach, right? And anyway, that's a separate topic. But the point I'm making is that Kingston itself doesn't really have a great access to the sea for the obvious reasons. But if you do want a beach, you can find it within 1 hour drive from Kingston. Montego Bay is definitely better when it comes to the sea access. I mean, it can't even be compared. Yeah, and this is something I really miss about Montego Bay while living in Kingston. One thing I want to note about living in Kingston is the cost of living when it comes to the bills. We're renting a townhouse in Kingston, so it's 4 bedrooms. What I don't understand is why my electricity bill is so low, like compared to the house we rented in Montego Bay. So in Montego Bay, we were paying somewhere around 35,000 to 40,000 Jamaican dollars for an electricity bill. We didn't use any AC or anything. It's just the fans, you know. Now in Kingston, my bill is between 13 to 16,000 Jamaican dollars per month, which is weird because I'm using exactly the same stuff I was using in Montego Bay, yet I'm consuming half of the electricity. Like I checked, and the rate for JPS is the same in Kingston and Montego Bay. I mean, the only thing we're not having is outside lights and the gates. We're not paying for that. But I mean, really? So this is something I'm still trying to figure out, like why is electricity bill so much lower for me in townhouse than it was in Montego Bay when I rented a house. The water bill, on the other hand, is so much higher in Kingston. It's just ridiculous. And like in Montego Bay, for a house with a swimming pool that we had to top up from time to time, we were still paying only around 7,000 Jamaican dollars, like from $5,000 to $7,000 for water to National Water Commission. Now in Kingston, my water bill is like 20,000 per month. Like, well, okay, 18, right? And that's because they're also charging me for sewage. I was not paying for that in Montego Bay. Yeah, so if any Jamaicans can explain to me what's the deal here with the water prices in Kingston, why is it so much more expensive? Why do we have to pay for sewage? Or is it only for apartment complexes and townhouses, whereas private houses don't have this problem? Or is it like Kingston has some special system, water system that is more expensive? Yeah, anyway, if you know any of this, please let me know in the comments. I haven't done the research yet, so I will be doing this research later when talking about how to build a house or where to buy property and things in Jamaica. But for now, yeah, if you have any information, let me know in the comments, because I'm wondering what's going on here. One of the things that people rarely talk about when they discuss living in Kingston and Montego Bay is the access to other locations that you have depending on where you live. If you're in Montego Bay, you can travel to Negril on a regular basis, and this is something that I really miss while I'm in Kingston. I cannot go to Negril as easily as I used to. I was surprised to realize that it's actually much faster for me to get to Ocho Rios from Kingston than from Montego Bay. I always thought it was faster from Montego Bay, but no. Because of the way the roads are, it just goes T3 highway and just right in Ocho Rios, which is extremely convenient because I love Ocho Rios. I love the waterfalls and the beaches there. So I've always wanted to explore Blue Mountains and St. Thomas Parish, but from Montego Bay it's always been a challenge, just too far. So now we can finally take advantage of our new location and get these parts of Jamaica filmed, as well as all the south coast. The other thing is like the airports. Now, because I'm now in Kingston, it's so much easier for me to travel around the Caribbean, because most flights that go across the Caribbean, like to Barbados or to Panama or to Central America, right? They would all be from Kingston. So before, I had to travel from Montego Bay to Kingston to get to the airport in Kingston. But then if you want to travel to the United States or Canada, then Montego Bay location is more convenient. Tourism. This is such a huge difference, like crazy difference. And it begins with the fact that in Montego Bay, no matter where I would go, people would treat me as a tourist, unless they know me, you know, or unless they know my YouTube channel and stuff. But other than that, I would go around Montego Bay, people would just approach me in the street offering tours and services and products and all sorts of things, assuming I'm a tourist. So even if I'd go to some non-touristic places like marketplaces or just anywhere in downtown in shops and things, people would automatically assume I'm a tourist and treat me as one, which was kind of annoying, you know, because no matter how many years I'd spend in Montego Bay, people would just think I'm a tourist. In Kingston, on the other hand, no one cares about me. And this is so pleasant. So I just walk the streets in Kingston and nobody's approaching me, like ever. They don't care. I'm just like Kingstonian. So people assume I'm local. It's just so nice to be invisible for a change. So that's a good thing about being in Kingston. On the other hand, I do miss the tourism vibe. I really do. I just miss tourists. I miss people walking around from cruise ships. It's just the traveling ambience, you know, the adventure kind of thing, or relaxation and fun and traveling to these beautiful destinations. I know they're launching these cruise ships coming to Kingston, but I don't know if tourists would actually be walking around Kingston like they do in Montego Bay. All across Hope Gardens, you have a lot of these blue barrels. Look at that. See? Plastic bottles only. Big up Recycling Partners of Jamaica and all the work they're doing with recycling the bottles. I actually have a video on my channel about recycling in Jamaica, so please check it out if you haven't seen it. What I love, absolutely love about Kingston right now, is that I can get two internet services. I have both Flow and Digicel, whereas in Montego Bay I could only have Flow. Now there is of course Starlink, but that's different. And here is what I'm going to tell you. During the last 5 months of me living in Kingston and using both Flow and Digicel, Flow had internet outage almost like twice a month. So we've had outage 10 times, at least 10 times in the last 5 months with Flow. Each time it would be just a couple of hours, but there were like maybe 2 or 3 times when we had no Flow internet for over a day. Okay? Now with Digicel, we had outage twice during the same period, and each time it was like 5 minutes only. So it was just basically they were rebooting something. So really there was no proper outage with Digicel. So now tell me please, why is there no Digicel in Montego Bay yet? It has to be the difference in the quality of service is just mind-blowing, and it's really sad, and I hope that Flow will do something about it. This is ridiculous when you have so many outages and the issues, and then the quality of service, and the fact that in Montego Bay we don't really have fiber internet. Yeah, well, Kingston is a huge difference. I've been enjoying my internet here very much so I'm very happy about it. And also the fact that I now have a backup. So if Digicel, goes down, hopefully Flow will still be running on that particular day. So for someone who lives and works online like me, this makes the whole difference, as you can imagine. I guess Kingston is the only place in Jamaica that has these options for internet, so yeah. People keep talking about the fact that traffic in Kingston is really bad, and it's true. I mean, Montego Bay has pretty bad traffic at certain parts of the day as well, like rush hour. It takes forever to travel from, say, Fairview to the airport, or from the airport to Fairview, Unity Halls or something, so you can be stuck in traffic for quite some time. But it doesn't compare to Kingston. It would usually take me only 5 minutes to drive from my home to, say, Sovereign Plaza. But during the rush hour, it can take 45 minutes. This is just like, because the cars are barely moving. And so that is a problem. I've noticed that Kingston has way more options for avoiding traffic in a way. Whereas in Montego Bay, it's just one highway and then there's one central road, and then we have like bottom road and top road, basically 2 roads. Okay, so now they're building this highway to go around Montego Bay, which is good if they finish it. In Kingston, however, there are way more options because there are so many tiny streets that go like all over the place, and if you know them really well, you can avoid quite a bit of traffic. I tried doing it. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't work. One day I was going through these small roads following Google Maps. Don't ever do that. And I knew I could never rely on Google Maps, so I sort of expected to end up somewhere where I was not supposed to end up. So Google took me straight to the dead end. I mean, there was a road before, but they've put like a big block in it and I couldn't pass, so I had to turn around and drive all the way back and join the traffic again. So that didn't work. But sometimes this sort of cheating going through small roads can work well. By the way, If you are ever driving in Kingston, be careful with Google Maps. Google Maps doesn't understand that some roads don't actually exist as roads anymore, like especially in downtown Kingston. When you're driving in downtown Kingston and Google tells you to go through this street, it's better to just stick to the main roads. That's what I've found. I don't know, maybe some Jamaicans can give other tips on that, but honestly, like when you're driving and Google tells you, yeah, just there is a nice cut here. You go through this cut and there is a market. So there is basically no road. There's just all like just walking street for people who are selling things. So you can't pass there. And you just go like, Google, seriously? Like why? And you can't really turn around. So you still sort of have to squeeze through all the people selling them. And they're probably thinking, what an idiot, why is she driving here? Yeah, you know, I'm still learning. Now, here's the thing I really, really love about Kingston, and that's the social life. I mean, my goodness, so many events, so many, like any events you want, they're here. You know, it's just so different from Montego Bay. It's just incredibly different from Montego Bay. Like in Montego Bay, we would have some events or things going on from time to time, like in the convention center, sometimes in Harmony Beach Park, sometimes in, you know. But really, in Kingston, something's going on every day, or maybe multiple events per day. And this is amazing. Like as someone who's interested in history and art, there are art exhibitions, there are like also like the first month we came to Kingston in December, there were 2 art exhibitions that I went to and I've met some interesting artists. Then there was a classical music concert in Hope Gardens. I was like, really? I mean, seriously, you just and it's free, you know, you just walk in and you enjoy yourself. Amazing. Then there are all these business events going on all the time. Like, man, this is so convenient. This is just so convenient. Like, because before I had to drive all the way from Montego Bay to Kingston to visit one of those events, and they would usually start early in the morning. Like sometimes they would have like breakfast forum or, you know, like, and then of course as someone who absolutely loves everything to do with history and heritage and, you know, having an access to museums and National Library to me is just priceless. This is actually one of the reasons I had to move to Kingston, is because the projects that I've been working on required exceptionally detailed research, a lot of research, and I had to have an access to all the original documents, and all of them are in Kingston. So yeah.